Morning, everyone.
Your Honor.
All right, it looks like we're just waiting for Ben Hitchcock Cross and his client.
Yep. Sgt Byers, I think actually we're starting with two other witnesses. So if you wanted to go back to your duties, I can give you a heads up when I think, are ready for you, if that works for the judge.
Oh, that works for me.
Okay. Does that help, Sergeant?
I don't know that she's on this call.
I can see her.
Oh, I see Mary
Oh, I'm
Sawchuk.
sorry. That's Mary Sawchuk. Yes, I apologize.
And I'm sorry if I
Mary.
mispronounced your name. All right, we have two more participants. Ben Hitchcock Cross. Good morning, Attorney Cross.
Good morning.
Are we still waiting for your client?
We shouldn't wait, but I know he's logging on.
Okay. All right, well, I will watch for him in the lobby. I'll just introduce the case into the record and then we can begin. So we are on the record and we are convened this morning for the case involving James Lucky, complainant versus Milwaukee County respondent. The ERD case number is CR 2021-01845 and the corresponding EEOC charge number is 26G 2021-00859C. Today's date is May 23rd. The hearing is being conducted and recorded via WebEx video conferencing software. I'm Anne Marie Molitor, the administrative law judge who was assigned to this matter, and it is just about 9:01 a.m. So at this time, I will get the parties to state their appearances again for the record, and then we can begin with a witness. Starting with the complainant.
Cross Law Firm, Ben Hitchcock Cross, appearing for Mr. Lucky. I note that he's not here presently, but we expect him to.
Okay.
Lawrence on behalf of Milwaukee County.
All right, thank you very much. All right, are we ready to swear in the first witness?
Yes, please.
Okay, then Lieutenant Sawchuk, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Ms. Sawchuk, where do you work?
Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office.
And what's your job there?
I work in the jail as a day shift commander currently.
Have you ever supervised James Lucky?
Yes.
About when was that?
On the freeway, 2019.
Okay. And you, were you his direct supervisor? What was your role with him at that point?
I was the second shift commander scheduler. There were sergeants that were his direct supervisor, but I was in charge of scheduling.
Scheduling, okay, I got it. So, for example, I guess just explain what kind of schedule would Mr. Lucky be assigned to?
The freeway patrol, second shift.
Okay, but is there, I mean, that sounds like there's just one thing. Is there more than one subunit of the second shift that has deputies assigned to it?
When you're assigned to patrol, you mean as far as areas you respond to?
I think that's my question, yes.
Anywhere in the county?
Okay, so your job there is, as far as being his supervisor, is just to schedule him on and off for second shift, is that right?
Correct, based on whatever his 3-week rotating basis was, whatever that was, and his vacations and whatnot, yeah.
Okay, with that in mind, did you ever discipline Mr. Lucky or participate in any discipline against Mr. Lucky?
Yes.
About when did that happen?
2018.
Okay. And can you explain how your role as a scheduler fit in with that, your participation in the disciplinary process?
Sure. I was a second shift commander. The day shift captain was gone for the day, so I was the shift commander.
Okay, I understand. 1 second, Judge. I understand Mr. Lucky is in the.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I was busy writing notes. He is now with us.
Great. So we've just gone over a few preliminary things. Okay, so so you were the shift commander for 1 day, or at what point were you the shift commander?
Whenever the day shift captain left, I was the shift commander.
Okay, so this was a semi-frequent basis?
Every day.
I got it. Okay. So you, I mean, then is it fair to say that you had the scheduler role over Mr. Lucky continuously, but then at least some point of every day, you were also the shift commander?
Yes. And if a sergeant was called out and I would have to do respond to calls or whatever, then I would take over that role as well. Sergeant, captain, whatever was needed. Correct.
Okay. What was Mr. Lucky disciplined for?
Citizen complaints.
Citizen complaints. Okay. And do you know about the time period from when the citizen complaints were made to the time that the disciplinary action was written up? What that time period was?
Other than there's citizen complaints, and then he had an insubordination that I gave him an activity documentation for.
Okay.
2019.
No, and I appreciate that. Let's just focus first on the citizen complaints if we can, because it sounds like then there's two disciplinary processes that you participated in, right?
At least, yeah.
Okay, great. And so when I'm using the term processes, I just want to be clear that I just mean in the sense that there was some disciplinary action at least started. Doesn't mean that there was any findings or anything like that. Is that fair? Okay. So again, what is the time period between when these citizens supposedly made these complaints and when the formal discipline began against Mr. Lucky?
I don't know the exact dates in 2018 and 2019, but I do remember Sergeant Krasnarich coming to me and saying, hey, Lucky was at the scene of an OWI crash and was arguing with deputies.
Okay. But again, did that take place the day before? Did that take place the month before, the year before? When did this supposed argument take place?
He told me the day of because he got called out to the scene.
Okay. Now let's talk about this insubordination discipline process. Did you, how did you come to be associated with that process?
Right. I was the shift commander. I came in early to work because we had a winter weather event going on. And there are times where we call second shift in early. In this particular day, day shift was extended, airport was extended, day shift supervisors were tending to crashes. We were 6 calls behind for service with personal injury crashes on the board. I was gathering my gear, my winter gear, to go out to service when Deputy Lucky approached me with a medical slip. And I thought, okay, well, if it's for today, it must be emergent. He's got to go. And then it was a future date. And I was like, hey, I'll deal with this later. Not now. I need you in service. And then he went off. Refused to go into service.
Okay. when was the time period between when that allegedly happened and when the complaint was? Did you file a complaint? I guess let me back up that and ask that question.
He went into Captain Trimboli's office, and he didn't go into service. I went into service, and she talked to him. Afterward, I followed up with her, and I wrote the EAD that day, and then handed it to her. So I don't know how long she held on to it. Basically, I looked through staff management to see if he's had any like instances. Does this rise to the level for a personal or a IA referral, which is now PSD, Professional Standards Division referral.
And were you trained in that?
As a supervisor,
Yeah.
to write employee activity documentation?
No, you said to, does it rise to the level of you know, we're going back and forth on professional standards here, but does it rise to the level of professional standards referral? Were you trained in that?
I guess it would be the opinion, since he had a prior insubordination in his record, I could have written him a referral. Yes, I could have.
Okay, but so that was based on your opinion, right?
Yes.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. So, okay. And then if you'll excuse me, part of what I didn't understand was, so you were giving Mr. Lucky in order to go into service, which I assume means do some work for the sheriff's department, right?
Yeah. So when you're assigned to the freeway and your job is to respond to crashes, because you're driving into work and the freeway's tore up and there's crashes everywhere, so you already know you're going to have that kind of day. And there's cars in the ditch, and I'm explaining, you know, the dispatcher's calling, I got a personal injury crash, I got a personal injury crash. Every other deputy sheriff had the wherewithal to be in service at that point. Yes, that's just,
Okay, now I get that. And why was he saying that he couldn't be in service?
he had a future doctor's appointment at some point the following week. A future doctor's appointment, not today, not that day.
So really, he told you that he didn't have something, he couldn't go to work that day because he had a doctor's appointment coming up. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And do you know what the reason for going to the doctor was?
No.
No. Oh, okay.
I just schedule it. You got an appointment, no problem. But right now I had a staffing need, basically.
Right, but you had a thorough discussion with him about the subject, right?
Oh, what?
You had a discussion with Mr. Lucky about the going into service, right?
Indeed. I told him, this is why I need you to go into service. We have crashes. I have a personal injury crash here. It's on the board. Someone is injured. I'm going to it. Hard to supervise someone who says no to you.
I got it. So, but the only thing, he didn't say no. He said that he had a doctor's appointment, right?
No, he said no.
Because he had a doctor's appointment, right?
I think he said, no, I'm not working under these conditions.
Okay. And what were those conditions?
I don't know. He was going to go to Human Resources.
Did you ask him?
No.
Okay. He was going to go, he was going to go to Human Resources mean?
I thought it meant file a complaint. I needed him to work. When he says no to me, I'm not going to. Like I said, very hard to supervise someone who doesn't want to do their job and respond to crashes as a freeway deputy.
Okay, and files complaints?
I don't know. I don't know if he did or not.
Well, is it hard to supervise someone who files complaints?
I don't know. I'm here.
What does that mean?
We're here for a complaint.
Ah, okay, I appreciate that. So, do you know if Mr. Lucky filed any complaints against you at any time?
No,
You're not aware of that?
no, just this one.
Okay. And, Okay. So is it true that, well, I guess I just want to back up there for a second. So he left this meeting and he told you that he was going to go to HR and that's how the meeting ended?
No, he went and he told me that he was gonna go see the chain of command and told me that he was going to the captain's office when I said, no, I need you to go into service.
Okay.
He disregarded my order for that too and went to the captain's office anyway.
Okay. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that he's got some medical reason to be out that day. What should he have done according to the county policy in response to your directive to go to work?
I don't think I understood your question. He came into work, but his doctor's appointment wasn't for that day. It was for that Monday, that following.
Sure, okay. And let's just suppose, for the sake of argument, that he had some reason to go to the doctor, but he didn't discuss it with you, okay? Let's just suppose that maybe he wasn't fit for duty. Okay, did that issue come up? Did he say he was fit for duty?
I don't know.
You don't know, okay. So he says, let's just assume that somebody isn't fit for duty and they report and you tell them that they need to go into service and they say they can't go into service. What, according to the policy, is that person supposed to do?
The person comes to work in full uniform and says he's not fit for duty. Is that the question?
Sure.
I would call my immediate supervisor.
Did you understand Mr. Lucky be coming into full uniform and saying he wasn't fit for duty?
No.
No. Oh, okay. So let's just focus on what I was explaining, asking you about, which is, let's say that somebody says they're not fit for duty. And I guess let's be clear. Was Mr. Lucky in his uniform when he came and talked to you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So when he comes and talks to you, then he says he's going to his up the chain of command, and then he's going to go file a complaint with HR. And you direct him not to go to file a complaint with HR. Is that right?
No.
But you did direct him not to go to a supervisor?
Correct. I said, now is not the time. I need you in service. We have a personal injury crash that someone is injured. I need you to go to. I'm on my way there.
Okay. And I just want to be clear from you. Is there any situation in which you can say, I need you to go to a crash, and a deputy can say, I can't go to that crash for X, Y, or Z reason, and then they would not have to go to that crash?
Yes.
Okay, what are those reasons?
My wife just called me. My kid is in the hospital, some emergent situation where, hey, I can't be here today. I gotta go. I'm out. Okay. Go.
Okay, like when Mr. Lucky said, I can't work under these conditions, like that?
He didn't tell me why. He just said, I'm going to the chain of command and I'm filing a complaint against you, an HR complaint.
Okay, and then after that, you filed an insubordination against him, right?
I issued him an employee activity documentation for insubordination. Yes, I did.
Great. Okay. Now, when you talked to Tromboli, did you mention to her that Mr. Lucky said he was going to file a complaint against you?
Oh, she heard it. He was yelling.
She heard that he said he was going to file a complaint against you. Okay.
Yeah, he was yelling it. Yeah.
So did she authorize you to file this employee action report?
She asked me later what I was going to do with it. I mean, it was clear insubordination. She just wanted to know if it was going to be a referral or what I was going to do, how I was going to handle it.
Okay, and after you had that discussion with her, you filed this employee action report?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And so she was aware that Mr. Lucky said that he was going to file a complaint before you had this discussion with her, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, are you aware that Mr. Lucky alleges that he was put on shifts alone without any backup?
You mean assigned to a patrol sector by himself?
I appreciate that vocabulary assistance. Yes, can you answer that question?
Every deputy sheriff works in a sector by themselves, unless there's two people assigned to that sector, or it's a mitigation, or there's, we had freeway closures at that time, construction. It would just depend. You have to be able to work in a sector by yourself. Yes, that's part of the job.
Okay, but some people don't work in sectors by themselves, right?
I don't know of anyone who doesn't work independently.
I appreciate that answer, but I don't, let me clarify my question then. There, at the time that Mr. Lucky was complaining that he was being sent to work by himself, that there were some deputies who were working in some patrol zones that had more than one deputy assigned to that patrol zone, right?
I rotated everyone every day. So sometimes if that sector had two people or had the luxury of having more than 8 or 10 deputy sheriffs on duty, then there would be doubled up sectors. Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
It
and I
just
get it.
depends on the staff.
And that's part of your job, right, is to, by staffing, is to allocate the business needs of the staffing of the sheriff based on business needs, right?
Right.
Okay. So when Mr. Lucky said he shouldn't be, told you that he shouldn't be on a shift by himself, did he explain to you why?
No,
He just said, I shouldn't be on a shift by myself. Is that right?
he, for whatever reason, he thought he was in sector 2 by himself and didn't like it.
Okay. And so all he told you was that he didn't like it. Is that what you're saying here now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Do you know if he talked to anybody else about this?
No.
Okay, so that's the extent of your Did you have, how many conversations with Mr. Lucky did you have about being in a sector by himself?
I don't know. But I know he said he liked 3 and 5 because he lived in 3. So I tried to put him in 3 and 5, which I don't generally give anyone preferential treatment. But if you complain every day, fine. I have the luxury of putting you here. Go ahead, have at it. But you have to be, as a deputy sheriff, know the county. You can't just say, I only want to work in this one area and not understand what sector 1, sector 4 dynamic, parks, and response. You have to know your city streets as well as the freeway system.
Okay, so how long after Mr. Lucky is complaining every day about being assigned to a sector by himself did you file insubordination charges against him?
I filed insubordination charges because he was insubordinate that day. And it wasn't charges, it was an activity documentation sheet.
And I appreciate your correcting me for my vocabulary. I know it's important to be specific there. Though I just didn't hear the answer to my question, which was how long after he was complaining every day about being assigned to a sector by himself did you file an EAR against Mr. Lucky?
I don't know how to answer that, other than when he was insubordinate twice by refusing to go into service and going into the captain's office is when I gave him an EAD.
Okay, well, let's just start there. Was the EAD, it's with D as in David, is that right?
Document, yeah, document.
Document. I appreciate it. Okay. We're all learning together. So when you gave him this EAD, was this before or after he was complaining every day about being assigned to a shift, a zone sector by himself?
I don't know. I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay. If you just give me a brief moment on mute here, let me see what else we need, Judge, and I'll be right back with you, please.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks for bearing with me there. So are you familiar with Sector 2?
Yes.
Okay, and generally speaking, where is Sector 2?
94 eastbound, westbound, it splits the county.
Okay, and that's a significant sector, right?
Sure.
Okay, how many deputies are supposed to be assigned to Sector 2 at any given time?
It depends.
Okay, is it more than the 2?
No, I mean, it depends. If they're shutting down lanes in 3, then I'm putting the second squad in 3. If 94 has construction, we got lane closure on 94, then I'm putting the sector car there, the second sector car there. It just depends. We had construction in 3 and 5.
Okay, so it's fair to say in Zone 2, there is what we call a definitive article, second squad, right? The second squad, right?
Sometimes, not all the
Okay.
time.
Well, like, right, for example, when Mr. Lucky is doing it during the winter, right?
I'm sorry.
Did you ever assign Mr. Lucky to work Sector 2 by himself?
It's possible.
Okay, did you do it more than once?
I have no idea.
Did you do it during the winter?
I don't know.
Did he complain about it?
Did he complain about being assigned to sector 2 in general? Yes.
Did he complain of being assigned to Sector 2 by himself?
He could have.
Okay, but you don't remember?
Nope.
Okay. Was there ever a time that you assigned 2 white deputies to Sector 2?
I could have.
Was there ever a time when Mr. Lucky was on vacation that you assigned 2 white deputies to Sector 2?
I don't know.
Was there ever a time when Mr. Lucky came back from vacation and you assigned 1 black deputy to Sector 2?
I have no idea.
Okay. Is that because you don't remember something else?
I rotate deputy sheriffs every day. They go to the next sector, to the next sector. I couldn't tell you. I don't assign by the color of their skin, sir.
Okay, but you do recall that Mr. Lucky complained about it, right?
He did.
Okay, did he complain about that it was race-based or something else?
He never said race-based to me. No.
Oh, okay. What did he say?
He was by himself. He didn't want to take crashes by himself, or he was afraid to be by himself in a sector. I don't know.
You don't know. Okay.
Oh,
I just want to go back to the citizen complaint one. Do you know if that charge was ever substantiated?
which citizen complaint?
The citizen complaint EAD that you initiated, as far as him being, I thought there was some complaint that he was being rude to citizens. Did I misunderstand that?
Yeah, well, there were several. Yeah.
Okay, but you wrote 2 EADs, right?
I wrote one for insubordination, and I had a staff management entry for the Captain Dukes incident when he told Captain Dukes that he was just a security guard, not knowing that Captain Dukes had worked for the city of Milwaukee for many years prior to taking a private security job at Freighter.
Okay. And it's that you wrote that up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and was that substantiated?
I don't think I understand what you mean by substantiated.
Well, did it go to, was it investigated by Internal Affairs?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming here. I know it was burdensome, and thank you very much for your time.
Attorney Lawrence, do you have questions for this witness?
I do, thank you. Good morning, Lieutenant. I will try and keep this short. I know you have places to be. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Lieutenant, I'm sorry, I'm actually going to start here. Can you identify this document? I'm going to scroll through it slowly.
Yeah,
Tell me if
that's,
you need me to. Okay, go ahead.
that's the EAD I wrote up for the winter weather plan and him not going to a personal injury crash and wanting to take crashes that day, yeah.
Can you, first of all, can you just review this and tell us if it is a true and accurate copy of the EAD that you prepared?
It is?
Your Honor, we'd ask that Respondents Exhibit 21 be moved into evidence.
No objection.
Objection. Okay, then it is admitted. Thank you.
Lieutenant, can you explain what an EAD is and what its role is in discipline?
Right. When someone, prior to them going to Internal Affairs Professional Standards Division, something happens, where in this case it was insubordination, I gave them a counseling session and I wrote this document explaining the date, and time that the infraction happened. It goes in their file and it gets documented in our staff management area, where any other supervisor could look at it and say, oh, he had an insubordination. It didn't rise to the level of going across the street, so to speak, to PSD. Sawcheck issued it on this date and time. This is what happened. And it goes in their file and it goes to front office too.
So is it fair to summarize by saying it's basically to let other supervisors know that he's been counseled on this matter?
Correct.
Is there any other purpose for an EAD?
No.
I'm going to move to Exhibit 4, Respondents Exhibit 4. Can you identify this top sheet for me?
Yes, it's a schedule, a patrol schedule.
And are these the type of patrol schedules you testified about preparing?
Yes.
Can you describe for us how you prepare these documents?
Based on it's a master schedule of who's working and who's off. I rotate deputies to various assignments. And if, in this particular case, Krusek was training Kearns, so the two of them would be in the same squad car together because she's the field training officer and he was the training deputy.
Okay. There are 983 pages of this, so I'm not going to scroll through everyone, but do these look like they fairly and accurately depict the schedules that you were creating for patrol from 2018 to 2019?
Yes.
Okay. Respondent would ask that it's Exhibit 4 be entered into evidence.
The entire thing?
The entire thing.
Okay.
Any
So
objections?
how many, you said it was how many pages?
983.
Because this went to the PRB or what?
No, he's made allegations about being assigned to Zone 1 disproportionately to other people. This is the data that substantiates or fails to substantiate that claim.
Okay. And this is 4.
This is Respondent's Exhibit 4.
All right.
Would you like me to keep scrolling, or are you looking at your own?
I'm having a trouble finding that document. What I have that says 1 through 4 just has 1 through 3 in it, which doesn't surprise me given the length of this thing.
I can scroll down to the end if you'd like to see the page numbering.
Yeah, that doesn't help because I just don't have a copy of it, or so far.
Okay, perhaps we can move on and the ALJ can verify for us that this is the document that was uploaded to the WebEx.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that.
With going on and
We
Yeah.
can verify that on break when we're not holding up a witness.
Okay,
I don't have a problem with that.
okay, very good. Thank you. We'll come back to that.
Lieutenant,
Excuse me, do you have that handy? Are you able to just send that to me?
I can when I stop sharing my screen. Again, on break, I can do that. Absolutely.
I appreciate all of that. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, but I will send that when the lieutenant has been dismissed as a witness. I know her time is limited here, so I'm trying to be efficient. Lieutenant, you testified that on the February 20th, 2019 weather incident where you ordered James Lucky to go into service, he then went off. Can you describe what you meant by went off?
He started yelling. Why are you doing this? Why you gotta be like this? I want to, something about skip the chain of command. I'm calling HR. He was just yelling.
Okay. Is it generally appropriate for a deputy to yell at a lieutenant?
No.
You also referred to an incident with Captain Dukes at Freightert. Who is Captain Dukes at Freightert?
He was the head of their security.
And what was the incident you were referring to?
Lucky got called to something. Captain Dukes was, kind of like, hey, this, I don't know if you're going to issue citation. I don't know if you're going to kick this, whatever the situation was. Captain Dukes asked him, hey, how are you going to handle this? And Lucky basically told him, I don't need to listen to you. You're just security. I'm going to do what I want to do. And then Captain Dukes called me and was hot, very upset.
So when you say got called to something, do you mean like an incident at the hospital?
Right, a call for service, right? Yeah.
Okay. And Captain Dukes asked him if he was going to write up the incident.
Right, whatever would have been, like I said, Captain Dukes has a law enforcement background, whatever would have been appropriate for that scene, whether it be cite them, remove them from the premise, arrest, whatever the situation was for how to handle this complaint at Freightert. Captain Dukes was so mad, I actually sent Sergeant Krisnerish and Sergeant Thiep over there to find out what happened exactly.
When you say Captain Dukes was so mad, how do you know that?
He was yelling at me on the phone.
So this was a conversation you had personally?
Yes.
And why was Captain Dukes mad?
Because Lucky talked down to him. He said, you're just security when you've got a seasoned person who was on the job, I don't know, 30 years as a cop prior, to Lucky even being a cop. And he just talked down to him.
What is the relationship between the sheriff's office and Freightert Hospital?
They hired us as security.
So effectively, Freightert is a paying customer or paying client, is that right?
Yep, they were.
Did Captain Dukes make any requests as a result of this interaction with Deputy Lucky?
Yes, so he did not want Lucky assigned there. This had not been the first incidence of complaints with Lucky. He did not want Lucky assigned there. Children's Hospital did not want Lucky assigned there. And I had, like I said, complaints from nurses and other supervisors that took in complaints about Lucky when he was assigned to the hospitals.
When you said Freightert, Captain Dukes didn't want him assigned to Freightert, but then you also said Children's Hospital didn't want him assigned there. Can you tell us more about that?
There was an incident with him and Deputy Lazama, who was a former deputy, with security and a female citizen. She was Hispanic. Lazama was, I think, translating, if I remember right. And the security guard was Hispanic, and then Lazama and him got into it in Spanish, and Lucky was in the middle of that. Children's did not want Lucky assigned there either.
And how did you know that Children's didn't want him assigned there?
I got a call.
So again, you have personal knowledge of this request.
Yes. I think I assigned Sergeant Thiep to that one.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Lieutenant, is there anything else that you think this ALJ needs to know about Deputy Lucky in regards to his complaint here?
Other than the fact that when you tell someone to go into service and you explain that citizens are injured and he refuses to do his job, very hard to supervise someone like that, very hard.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I have no further questions.
Any redirect?
Yes. Just a few, thank you. So, when, and this Mr. Dukes, he was acting as a security guard at that time, right?
He was the supervisor, he was a captain.
Security supervisor, okay. And Mr. Lucky was acting as a sworn law enforcement officer, right?
Yes,
Okay. And there's a distinction between those two roles, isn't there?
well, security going to a scene as a captain, you mean?
That's what the role of a security supervisor as distinct from the role of a law enforcement officer. Isn't that true?
They're two different professions, yes.
Right. And law enforcement officer has discretion to investigate crimes, and the security guard doesn't, right?
True.
Okay. So at that time, Mr. Lucky was in charge of an investigation, and Mr. Dukes was not, right?
Captain Dukes got called by his supervisors to come to the scene because of what had been happening with Lucky and how he was handling the scene.
Okay. Now, going back to this allegation that Mr. Lucky was rude at a crash scene. Do you recall talking to me about that?
Yes,
Yeah. Did the complainant ever describe Mr. Lucky as a black guy?
I don't know. Sergeant Krasnarich and I think Thiep went to that one too.
Okay. Did you participate in any disciplinary process with Sarah Byers
No,
against Mr. Lucky?
no.
Okay.